honored to introduce our next presenter in the Conscious Embodiment Summit, Day 1, Revealing Your Body's Wisdom. His name is John Lockley. John is a traditionally trained Sangoma, African shaman and healer from South Africa. He is also a meditation teacher with a Korean Zen background. His journey started in 1990 with intensive Zen training under Subong Sunim in South Korea. In 1997, he started his traditional African Sangoma apprenticeship. He was apprenticed and initiated into two different lineages, the Swazi and the Koza. His Koza apprenticeship took 10 years, and he was foreseen in a dream by his teacher, Mangwevu, a senior Koza Sangoma in the same tribe as Nelson Mandela, who invited him to be her apprentice. Today, John runs Ubuntu Humanity and Rewilding retreats worldwide to help modern people reconnect with their ancestors and wilderness. His retreats are based on his book, Leopard Warrior, and his audio course, The Way of the Leopard, both produced by Sounds True. John, it's such an honor to have you here.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for joining us. So can you tell us what a Sangoma is?
A Sangoma is a traditional African shaman, and the word Sangoma comes from the Xhosa and Zulu traditions. And in fact, it comes from the Nguni traditions in Southern Africa. And Sangoma means people of the song, people of the drum. So generally, Sangomas would be singing or they'd be chanting. So you could say they're like African dancing monks and nuns. And so we use rhythm and song to go into trance and to connect to the dream time or to connect to the spirit world. So a Sangoma is a traditional shaman, a traditional African or South African shaman. And we become Sangomas not through our own choosing, but we are chosen through dreams and through an illness, which is called the Twaza illness. And this is what happened to me, and this is what I spoke about in my book, Leopard Warrior, to talk about how someone becomes a Sangoma. It's not dependent on the color of your skin or on the culture that you're born into. It's you are chosen by the spirit world, by the ancestors, in the same way someone is chosen to become, say, a yogi or a traditional shaman in other cultures. So it's quite fascinating, and it's very mystical, and it's very magical, and it's also very painful in many ways. So in South Africa, people don't go looking to become Sangomas because of the amount of pain that is involved in becoming a Sangoma. And what I mean by that is we are empaths, and an empath is someone who feels, and we feel deeply, not just your own situation, but we are trained to feel others. We are trained to feel our community. We are trained to feel the clients that come to us looking for healing. And we are trained to feel the spirit world, our ancestors. And that's not an easy thing to do, but it's a very magical and very beautiful gift. And this is why I'm sitting here with you, just to share some of these teachings.
I can't thank you enough for doing that. It just feels, I understand what you're saying about how being a healer, we do have to experience other people's pain on some level to be able to be with them. Can you talk more about how people can connect with their soul?
Yes, people can connect to their soul through just listening to the wind that it goes inside of them. And this is why I was speaking about finding your bones. What did I say? Finding my bones. What did I call it there?
I think trusting your bones, but
trusting your bones, finding your bones. It's all connected. So the first thing is in terms of the soul, is like, what is the soul? But the soul or the spirit is that part of us that doesn't die. It's that part of us that is connected to this physical body, but it's also that part of us that when we leave this physical body, it continues. So how do we connect to that ephemeral part of ourselves And one of the ways we do it in our tradition, and probably all traditions actually, is we say "Uyiva umoya wa," which means feel the wind inside of you. So just consciously breathing. I know in mindfulness meditation, they talk about breathing and following the breath. So what we speak about in our tradition is connecting to the spirit wind inside of you. So what is the spirit wind? It's what we call your umoya. Umoya is also a Zulu word which speaks about the wind, but it's the wind of spirit. So breathing in the wind, breathing in your own spirit, and feeling it as it connects to your heart. And then listening to that space inside of you. And we can do that together. So people, if you're listening to us right now, then just close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Close your eyes and just give us 30 seconds of your time. Take a deep breath in. And allow the breath or the wind inside of you to make contact with your heartbeat. So where the wind connects to the fire, feel that chemistry inside of you as that conscious breath that you're breathing in connects to your heartbeat, that electrical fire inside of you. And then breathing out, just letting go and surrendering. And letting go into that pulse of your own heartbeat. And imagine that pulse inside of you as a drum and a drum rhythm. And just surrendering and letting go into that drum rhythm inside of you. And then feeling your bones, feeling that physical part of you. And each time you breathe in, I want you to breathe into your bones, to that physical container, which is your body. And as you breathe in, I want you to fill your body up with breath. And then surrender and let go and just feel your bones, feel your physicality. And trust in that physical body that you have, that's part of nature, that it's divine, that's sacred. And just trust in that. Trust in your body, trust in your bones. And if you're struggling to do that, then listen to the birds outside. As we are listening to the birds right now, that's what the birds are doing. They are breathing in and they are trusting in nature. They're trusting in their little bodies that are flying and so vulnerable, so delicate. But they're trusting in nature around them, that nature will sustain them. They're trusting in the bones that they have. And then that trust turns into joy. And then they sing a song that we feel. And this is how they are teaching us. And this is how nature is teaching us. So how can you, wherever you are sitting right now, listening to us, how can you trust in your bones? Or just do what we're doing right now? It's a simple exercise. It's profound. And all it requires is a little bit of mindfulness. And also realizing that you have the energy of the dinosaur inside of you. You have something primal and ancient inside of you. You have your human DNA and your ancestors inside of you right now. And we are all being called right now to connect more deeply to nature, because nature outside is under threat. The environment is under threat. And how can we all save the environment? How can we all help prevent species extinction and deforestation and the destruction of the oceans? Well, each one of us right now can make a difference. And I'll tell you how. Through connecting to your inner wildness, through connecting to your inner nature, through trusting in your bones and feeling the breath inside of you, and then surrendering and letting go, And in that moment, you'll feel the rise of your own spirit, that ephemeral, immortal part of you. And then that will start to teach you and speak to you in the same way the birds are being taught by Mother Nature all the time. They are trusting in Mother Nature. And why is this important? Because at the moment, human beings are suffering from something terrible. They are suffering from spiritual poverty. They are suffering from what I call hungry ghost energy, which is called rampant consumerism. And this is eating up the world at a rampant pace. So as each human being connects to that ephemeral, immortal part of them, as each person learns to drink the sap of spirit and soul and surrender into their bones and Mother Nature, as each person does this, then they become happier and they don't feel like they need to buy everything. And they turn to their loved ones with smiles on their faces. And they turn to the animal and plant worlds with a sense of empathy. And this means that human beings start to become, they start to reassert their place in the world, which is to be custodians of planet Earth. So each one of us has a calling to become a custodian of the planet Earth. And each person is called in a similar way, but slightly different. And we are called to connect to that part of us, which is connected to Mother Nature. And all we do is breathe in and listen to our bones and surrender and let go.
That's so beautifully said, John. So as we reconnect with our bodies and our bones, we actually connect with that deeper spirit. And then to me, then we are able, then our vibration then affects everyone around us, and then it changes the world. Do you want to speak more about, I don't know, that just how the indigenous teachings that you learned, how they have changed you and your message and to the world?
Yes, I mean, one of the things I've learned from my friends and colleagues, my traditional Sangoma friends, is how to pray and how to trust in your dreams, and also how to connect to your bones. So when we say in Xhosa, Uyiva amatambo, utandaza amatambo, feel your bones and pray to your bones. What we mean by that is to connect with your ancestors. And what it means to connect with your ancestors as a human being, it's calling on you to connect to that primordial ancient side of yourself with dignity and with love. So when we connect to our ancestors in the traditional South African way, it's not about worshiping your ancestors. It's just about respecting the journey that they were on in order for us to be alive right now. And as we do that, just respecting and loving them, it starts to engender a sense of devotion, a sense of humility. And what that does, it opens up to grace. And as you open up to grace, then you connect to your spirit, to your soul, and then that is shown to you in dreams. So these are the things that I learned from my colleagues and my friends. I'm South African, so I was brought up in South Africa, and I was brought up with African culture around me, the language, the spirit, the people. And I was brought up with the spirit of the drum, with the rhythm of the drum. And when I came overseas first, I was called to run workshops in England. And I was wondering how to bring this ancient knowledge in a way that is digestible, in a way that people can understand. And I had a number of dreams around how to bring the teachings in. And then I remember having meetings with my elders and discussing these dreams. And then one day I had this epiphany about the rhythms. And I just remember sitting down and just feeling, well, it's obvious what to do. Teach people to connect with their heartbeat, because that is the little drummer inside of them. And when we are doing our rhythms and our ceremonies in South Africa, it's very energetic, and there's lots of drumming and dancing and clapping and feeling these trance rhythms, these trance polyphonic rhythms are so subtle and so beautiful that the door into the spirit world becomes easy to walk through. And it's all based on heartbeat rhythms. It's like a 4 or 3-step rhythm. And so when I came overseas, when I came to England, I just started drumming, and I started singing, and I started dancing. And then when we sat down together, I just said to people, feel your heartbeat and breathe into it. That's the doorway to your immortality. That's the doorway to your spirit and your soul, because this was my experience and is my experience in South Africa. I know other cultures work with plant medicine. We also work with plant medicine, not all of which is hallucinogenic. Plant medicine is very helpful, but in a very sober way. How can you, within 3 seconds, connect to your soul? And the easiest way is through your breath, as we know, through mindfulness meditation. And the second that I'm introducing now with you, through my African background, is the heartbeat. And I say heartbeat because that rhythm of your heart and that beating is what you need to trust and what you need to surrender to and let go into. And feel how your heartbeat, that pulse, how it reverberates and moves into your bones, how it hits your bones and comes in, with your rib cage. And then you feel other bones in your body. And then if you feel called to get up and dance or move gently, feeling your bones, then that's going to start speaking to you. So one of the things we do, one of the things I was trained in is the trance dance. And the trance dance has an element of shaking medicine. And I'm going to introduce a little bit of this to people towards the end of this talk with my rattles. We shake our bodies in a particular way, and we push our feet into the ground. And then there's what I call the reverb, where your flesh hits against your bones or your rib cage, and you're feeling your heartbeat with the same rhythm. And it just builds up and builds up and builds up until there's this vibration, there's this humming of energy or electricity. And that is what you listen to. And that's what starts to open the door to the spirit world. So it's a physical experience. Going into trance is not just go into trance like that. No, I speak about going into trance is an experience of going through your bones, not out of body and out of your bones. It's about going through your bones. So what I'm saying is that when we are dancing, your heartbeat goes up. My heartbeat goes over 200 beats a minute. It goes over, and you're sweating and you're pounding and your feet are going to the ground, and there's a moment of pain and discomfort, and that builds. And then you have to keep breathing in, feeling the breath, let the breath ignite the heart and energize your physical body. So it's this conscious breathing, and you're listening to the songs and the rhythms, and then you trust and you let go. And then there's this moment of maybe it's less than a second where you connect to that world. And even if you're not consciously aware of connecting to that spirit world, often afterwards, or the week afterwards, or maybe 3 weeks afterwards, you'll have these dreams, which is what we call confirmation of connecting to, we say, Izinyanya, which means the ancestors or the spirit world. We say Izinyanya Ziyavuma. The ancestors have agreed and they've opened the door, and then we have this experience. But the engine behind this experience is what I'm talking to you about: connecting to your bones, trusting in your bones, praying to your ancestors, surrendering and letting go. And then there's that moment of pause where we connect to that ephemeral spirit realm.
That's so beautiful. I was going to ask you, but I think you answered it in your beautiful description. If people are having trouble connecting with their heartbeat or allowing their heartbeat to flow through them, the key is breath, movement, surrender, trust.
Yeah, and you're a child of nature. You weren't dropped in from out of, somewhere else. And even if you were, then I would say trust in universal energy. That's what my Zen master used to say, trust in universal consciousness, which is moving through all things. It's the wind of consciousness, moves through all things. So think about water. So I'm drinking my glass of water here, okay? If I heat this water up, it's going to turn into steam and it's going to float outside the glass, okay? If I freeze it, it's going to become solid, right? So water has 3 states. Each human being has about, I think, 80 to 90% of water or liquid in them. So it's metaphysics, this is pure physics. As you heat your body up through movement, through dance, through some kind of invocation with your conscious mind, you heat up the liquid inside of you, you heat up your consciousness, and you need to direct it with some clear conscious prayer as well. It's not just about dancing randomly. It's like, why are you dancing? Why are you moving your body? And the next thing is, when you're connecting to a trance rhythm and you're searching to connect to your soul, why are you doing it? Are you looking for psychic power? Are you looking for a good time feeling? Are you looking to become a better human being to help this planet? What is your intention behind your practice? This is very, very important. So as my training as a traditional Sangoma, I started the training because I was called in a very powerful way, and we don't have time to go into it now too much, but I was called in dreams, and I was called in a lot of signs. And then my teacher, my Xhosa teacher, also had a dream about me before meeting me, and she was called to train me to become a traditional Sangoma like herself, a traditional, it's called Ikricha, which in Xhosa means, or English, it means the one who holds the lightning rod of the ancestors. So it's like what you could call a Kundalini yogi, So it's a very physical experience when this energy goes through you. And it's also painful, when you experience these trance rhythms. But the focal point is, why are you doing the practice? Why are you sitting down and invoking your ancestors and invoking the breath? So one of the reasons why I started doing this is because it made me feel better. So my teacher would say to me, you're invited to a ceremony which we call an umsebenz. And an umsebenz in English means spiritual work. So we are invited to do these works where the drum is playing, where the songs are played, and where we are called to chant and sing, because it's our medicine. It's the way that we can connect to the divine, and then we feel better. So when I'm chanting, when I'm dancing, when I'm with my community, any community that's focused on devotion and prayer to the divine, I feel better. It's my medicine. So the focus behind the practice is very, very important. What's your intention? Do you want to connect to that part of you that doesn't die? Do you want to help heal the planet? Why do you want to connect to that spirit inside of you?
That's so beautifully said. And I just your way of describing how the way to connect with our spirit is through our body and bones is really the way. So many traditions discount the body, and I'm so glad that you honor the body in your work and share that with others.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. And I know one of my colleagues, the lovely Yakov Darling Khan, is going to be speaking about dancing and movement. And so you've got some exciting people coming up on this summit. And I can mention, I've got this picture of these beautiful elephants behind me, and it's from it's from an elephant sanctuary quite close to where I live in the Eastern Cape, and elephants embody what I'm talking about in terms of connecting to your bones. They're living through their bones, and then they're deeply, deeply spiritual, and they're matriarchal, and they connect to their bones and their feet and the wind. I mean, they're such a wonderful example of connecting to the wind as well because of their trunks. So they really embody what I'm talking about here, and they are teachers. They are teaching us how to do it. So they push their feet into the ground. They make these sounds. They connect to their bones, and they also connect to one another. It's not just about one elephant having a spiritual experience. It's about one elephant connecting to that wind, and then how can that wind help the other elephants and the world around them?
Oh, you've imparted so much wisdom today. I want to keep going and going and going, especially talking about how, how you feel your immortality with Dreamtime, but we just don't have the time to do that today. So hopefully we can connect in the future. But for people in the participants, in this summit, those who sign up for your newsletter, they'll be able to connect with you and your work. And I think you're also giving a nice free gift of a chanting meditation to those who do that. So do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yes, I did a recording a while back called Dropping into Dreamtime, and it's got some rattling, and it's got some like a guided meditation and a little bit of Tibetan bowl recording. And the focus is to just drop into that space inside of you, that space that doesn't know death, but just knows presence, consciousness. And each one of us has that. So that's why I called it Dropping into Dreamtime.
Beautiful. And, by people signing up for your newsletter, of course, they'll be introduced to your book, The Way of the Leopard. Is that right?
The book is Leopard Warrior.
Leopard Warrior, sorry.
Leopard Warrior, yes. Oh, there you go, Leopard Warrior.
There you go.
And then the audio teachings is The Way of the Leopard, and it's both produced by Sounds True.
Beautiful. Oh, I mean, we're also honored to have you share your wisdom. You have so many things to offer, so many different ways for people to connect with their soul, and to make the world a better place, which is definitely why I'm here and why we're doing this summit. So do you have any final words you'd like to impart today?
Trust your bones. Trust that ancient part of you, and know that many human beings, thousands and millions and billions, have walked this planet before us. Yes. So the pain and the stories and the difficulties that we are facing right now are not insurmountable. It's part of a plan. And as we learn to trust in nature and trust like the birds trust, then we can actually do something. But if we just listen to our own minds and our own egos, then then there's not much we can do, really,
So true. Trust and love.
You want me to sing a chant or do something that?
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay. So I can offer a chant or a prayer, and get my rattles.
Sounds great.
So these are the rattles that you'll find in the guided meditation. It's called amakapa, which means the rattles, just amakapa. Okay, so wherever you are, just feel the breath inside of you, and I'll just do a short little chant to help us connect to our moya, that part of us that doesn't die. So taking a breath in, just pausing, trusting, feeling your bones, Volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange. Kamagui yamanyange, kamagui yamanyange, kamagui yamanyange, kamagui yamanyange. Volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange, volenle lamanyange. Kamagui yamanyange, kamago tikwam, kamago bazalibam, kamago matambo, volenle labanabadala kago. Tandaza, uyiva matambo, utemba utiko, nomanyange, utemba, abazali bako, sikamako. So what I'm saying in English is trust in your bones, trust in your ancestors, trust in that ancient voice and spirit inside of you, and know that you are a child of nature. You are part of nature in the same way that birds are, and the insects, and the creepy crawlies. Trust in the ancientness of your body. Tamaku. Tamaku means with reverence, like Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Just the power of the vibration of your voice and the rattle just was such a major shift for me in my energy. And so I thank you very much. And obviously Greta liked it as well. She joined us too. So.
Well, the animals are just wiser than us. So if they're happy, then we know we're doing something.
They truly. It's such a pleasure and honor to meet you, John. And thanks so much for sharing just a little bit about your work and your beautiful contribution to this planet. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We will return to the Conscious Embodiment Summit. And thanks for watching this wonderful presentation. Take care.